Hey guys, tonight we're taking a journey into something bleak, cold, and very, very real. This isn't just history. It's survival, or more often, the lack of it. We're talking about winter, but not the cozy kind with scarves and peppermint lattes. No, we're talking about the kind of winter that crept in like a slow killer. And for the lower class, especially before central heating and public health, this season didn't just test people, it buried them. You probably won't survive this. Not because you're weak. It's just the odds are stacked against you from the moment the first frost hits. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe. But only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. I mean it. Now, where are you tuning in from? What time is it there? I always wonder who's out. There, curled up somewhere in the dark. Maybe with a blanket or a pet listening in. Now, dim the lights. Maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum. And let's ease into tonight's journey together. It starts in late autumn. You're already stretched, thin. The harvest was poor again. And you've been rationing everything from bread to soap. You don't have much margin for error, and now the air has changed. It's got that sharp edge, that dampness that clings to your clothes and makes your joints ache a little more than usual. You notice your fingers stiffening by evening. Your breath fogs up even indoors. There's a scratch in your throat, but you brush it off. You've been through winters before, but you remember them like trauma, not nostalgia. Your house, or house, if we're being generous, is already colder inside than the air outside was just a month ago. The roof leaks. The chimney is cracked, and the wind slips through the gaps in the wood like it has a key. The floorboards are bare, uneven. Your one thin blanket feels more like tissue paper. You've tried plugging the worst of the wall holes with rags, newspapers, even a shirt you've outgrown. But nothing really stops the draft. The first real frost comes overnight. You wake up and the water basin by the bed has frozen solid. Your breath hangs in the air, white and ghostly. You sit up, bones cracking, and your first thought isn't, "Wow, what a beautiful morning." It's, "I hope we have enough fuel to make it through the day." You're out of coal again. You go outside where your breath joins a foggy procession of others, doing the same. Everyone's heading to the same few places. Maybe a wood pile out in the commons already picked over, or the local coal merchant, where prices have mysteriously doubled overnight. You can't afford it. Not really. But what's the alternative? No fire means no warmth. No warmth means your youngest child wheezing herself to sleep again or not waking up at all. Historically, this was the exact moment that divided people for the upper class. Winter meant fur coats, brandy by the fireplace, and sledding parties. For you, it's a strategic war with nature, and nature is not on your side, not even close. You feel it more at night. You lie down, muscles aching from work, stomach half full, and the cold starts its slow invasion. It starts in your feet. You wrap them in a scarf. Then your fingers clench tight under your arms. The worst part's your nose. It stays cold no matter what. You breathe in sharp, icy air all night long. And even in sleep, your body doesn't rest. It braces. There's a quirky old wives' tale people still tell about how putting a brick in the fire, then wrapping it in cloth and sticking it under your blanket helps keep the bed warm longer. You try it. It works a little, but the fire is weak. The brick cools, and the cold wins again. Back in the day, people believed certain foods helped warm the blood. A little nutmeg, ginger if you could afford it, which you can't, or even a dram of gin before bed. You take a sip, just enough to feel. It burned down the center of your chest, not enough to dull the rest of the night. The strangest part is how quickly your world starts to shrink. You don't go out after dark. You start choosing which room to heat, if any at all. You gather in one space, usually the kitchen or a room, with the smallest window, and huddle close. Conversation slows. Laughter becomes rare. The silence becomes another blanket, just as heavy, just as bothering. There's an ongoing scholarly debate about just how many people in urban areas died each winter during the Industrial Revolution, not from dramatic weather events, but from the slow grind of cold-related illness, starvation, and exhaustion. The numbers vary, of course, because record-keeping was inconsistent and the poor weren't exactly the priority. But the patterns are undeniable. Mortality always spiked with the frost. Always. It didn't help that heating wasn't just about comfort. It was about survival. Without heat, your immune system tanked. That cough, it turns into bronchitis. That fever, maybe typhus, and suddenly you're not just cold, you're dying in slow motion with no doctor. No medicine, and definitely no second opinion. But you don't think about all that as you wrap yourself in the last quilt your mother made now, patched and unraveling. You think about how long until the morning. How long until the sun hits the roof? How long until spring? Though you know that's a lie you keep telling yourself. Spring doesn't save you. It just delays the inevitable. And the cold, well, the cold always comes early. The wind tonight sounds alive, not like a howl or a whistle, but more like something trying to claw its way inside, slipping under the door frame, pressing against the loose window panes, tapping through every tiny crack in the wall like fingers drumming in. You pull the blanket tighter around your shoulders, though it's already wrapped around you like a second skin. It doesn't matter. The cold is already in the room. It's already in you. Your home wasn't built to survive this. Not really. The landlord patched the roof last summer, but you're pretty sure he just stuffed straw under the shingles and called it a day. The walls are thin. mostly uninsulated lath and plaster riddled with gaps. You've stuffed the worst of them with rags, scraps of fabric, even pages torn from old newspapers. You read part of an article about someone's upcoming opera debut. As you jam it into a corner by the window, still, the cold comes. The floorboards creak constantly, not from footsteps, but from contracting in the temperature. They twist and buckle, slightly underfoot, and every window in the house is a joke. Thin glass, no sealant. When you touch one with your fingers, you leave behind a print on the frost on the inside. That's the part that always gets you. Ice forming inside your own home. Like winter isn't just outside your door. It's made itself a roommate. You've tried a few tricks. Hanging a blanket over the door frame. Lighting a candle in the corner to keep the draft away. Placing bowls of hot water on the windowsill. It's mostly ritual at this point. False comfort. The warmth lasts maybe 10 minutes before the cold creeps back, more confident than ever. You've even caught yourself whispering to it sometimes like it's a ghost. Just give me one good night, of course. There are people who will say you're being dramatic, that winter's not that bad. But they've never lived through it like this. They've never tried to dry wet socks by body heat alone or slept in a hat. Because the heat keeps escaping out of their scalp, they have never woken up with the tip of their nose frozen, and their breath hanging in front of them like mist. The upper class, if they think of you at all, assume your problem is laziness or poor budgeting. Meanwhile, they sit behind thick walls of stone and brick by hearths stoked with split logs and cold drinking mulled wine. They write long letters about the beauty of the snow, how peaceful it is, how the flakes shimmer like silver in the moonlight. You know how snow looks from where you are, like a warning, because more snow means more cold. More weight on the roof, more blocked paths, more isolation. And let's not forget what snow really hides. Rot, filth, waste, and sometimes the body of someone who didn't make it home. Some people try to burn furniture, chairs, stools, even the doors if it comes to that. You've known families who tossed broken bed frames into the fire just to stay. Warm another few hours. The problem is once it's gone, it's gone. You sit on the floor and tell yourself it's fine. You don't need a chair. What you need is heat. What you need is to not damn die. There's this strange moment every winter when you stop thinking of your house as a shelter and start seeing it as a sieve. The very thing that's supposed to protect you is slowly letting you freeze to death. You start imagining how you'd redesign it if you had the money. You'd insulate the walls, seal the windows, maybe even add a little stove, a thick rug, a real mattress. But that's fantasy. Right now, your world is a constant battle between you and the cold. And the cold's winning by points. Historically, many lower-class homes lacked chimneys altogether. or had one so poorly designed they let more cold in than heat out. In some regions, families dug pits in the floor to light small fires carefully so they didn't die from the smoke. Others leaned into what was called shared body warmth. Yes, the classic pie-love humans under one blanket method. Children, siblings, grandparents, everyone huddled together in a single room, not for love, but for survival. You're reminded of a story an old neighbor once told. She said her grandmother used to rub her hands with snow every morning before going outside so the shock of cold wouldn't feel as bad. You tried it once. It just made your fingers go numb faster. Still, you appreciated the logic. In a world like this, you do what you can to trick your body into cooperating, into surviving. Thanks for watching. You're heading toward the factory or the yard or the docks, wherever they might still need a body. Work's scarce now. Fewer orders, slower output, tighter ledgers. The bosses don't say it, but you see it in their eyes. Come back in spring. If you make it that far, your breath comes out in ragged puffs. The wind cuts through your coat like it's made of lace. You hold your hands inside your sleeves, but it doesn't help much. You keep moving because standing still is worse. Standing still means your blood slows down. And when it does, your fingers start turning colors. You've seen it happen. Chilblains. Frostbite, skin going waxy white, then blue, then black. One man at the docks lost 3 fingers last winter, just gone. He wrapped them up in cloth and kept working for an hour before anyone noticed. Said he couldn't afford to stop. You understood. You still do. By the time you reach the factory gate, you're shivering so hard your teeth ache. There's already a small crowd gathered, all of you waiting for the foreman to come out and pick who gets a shift. He steps out, barely glances around, then points. 3 men. Not you. The rest of you start to scatter like rats. No work today again. You think about staying to beg or maybe offering to sweep, fix something, anything. But you know it wouldn't help. There are 10 people behind you with the same idea, and none of them are getting picked either. So you turn and walk away, stomach empty. Fingers colder than they were before. Some historians argue that the real killer during winter wasn't the temperature, but the loss of labor. The moment cold came, everything slowed down: trading, building, shipping, farming. If you were poor, that meant fewer chances to earn anything at all. And without income, you couldn't buy heat or food. You didn't starve in summer. You starved in January. There's an old saying in your neighborhood: cold work pays nothing, meaning the jobs that exist in winter are the worst ones. Hauling coal sacks, breaking ice in the canals, digging out snow with your bare hands. They pay pennies, but sometimes pennies are the difference between firewood and frozen death. Your cracked lips and sore teeth. The crust rips your gums a little. You don't care. Your gloves, if you can even call them that, are fingerless wool with more hole than knit. You can barely hold anything. You try to warm your hands with your breath, but the wind steals it before it does any good. You jam them into your coat and walk on, feeling each fingertip tingle, then burn, then go frighteningly numb. There's an ongoing debate among medical historians about how much damage a single winter could do to the average working class body. Some argue that the repeated exposure to sub-zero temperatures caused long-term nerve damage and circulatory issues. Others say people got used to it. But you're not sure anyone ever gets used to the cold, slowly killing parts of you. You stop for a moment beside a metal railing and press your fingers against it just to feel something. You don't, not right away. Then suddenly the pain kicks in sharp, like tiny needles stabbing through your skin. You pull back, but the damage is already done. Your hand aches now, but at least it's alive. You find a spot in an alley that's out of the wind and sit there for a while. You're not the only one. There's a kid further down, curled into himself, eyes closed. Is he sleeping? You can't tell. You don't check. You're afraid of the answer. You think about going home. But what's the point? It's just as cold there, maybe colder. The fire's gone, the food's gone, and the blankets can only do so much. But you go anyway, because winter strips away choices until going back to the cold is the only thing you can afford to do inside. Your feet throb as the rags begin to thaw. It's the worst part, the thaw. That's when you feel the damage, like the nerves are waking up just to scream at you. You bite down on a sleeve to stop from crying out. You don't want to wake anyone. Not that there's anyone left awake. It's a strange thought. But you wonder how many fingers you could lose before they stop letting you work. 3, 5, 10. You hope it doesn't come to that, but you've stopped ruling things out. You've stopped believing anything is beneath winter because now you understand. It doesn't take much. A wet boot, a frozen railing, one too many days without gloves. And that's how it starts, not with a scream, but with a numb finger that never warms back up. It starts with a sting. You're buttoning up your coat. What's left of it when you notice the raw patches on your fingers? They're red, swollen, and the skin is beginning to split around the knuckles. You flex your hand and wince. The tips feel hot, like they've been scalded. And yet, you know they're cold. That's the twisted magic of chilblains, your body trying to warm itself to fast and failing, punishing you for surviving. You pull your sleeves down over your hands and head out anyway. What else are you supposed to do? Stay inside and stare at the walls while your stomach eats itself. The wind hits you like a slap, and the cracked skin on your lips starts bleeding again. You lick the blood away out of habit. There's a faint metallic tang to it, almost a flavor now. You make your way down the same worn path to the same overcrowded street, hoping that maybe, just maybe, today someone needs help hauling crates or clearing ice or delivering something. Too heavy or too far for one person. You scan the usual spots, eyes darting between groups of men like a desperate gambler watching the cards. But there's nothing, just the usual shrug and headshake. The jobs are fewer now, and the men are hungrier. No one's hiring someone with hands that look like yours. They want strong backs and good fingers. You shove your useless hands deeper into your pockets and move on. The pain is constant now, dull when you don't move, sharp when you do. One of your toes has started to go a strange shade of grayish purple. You don't want to look at it too long. You've started walking with a limp, trying to hide it. But limps make people notice you. And in this world, being noticed isn't always a good thing. There's a boy, maybe 12, sitting on the curb near the ironworks, teeth chattering so violently it sounds like he's trying to chew through his own jaw. His socks are wet, no shoes. You stop hesitating. You think about offering him the corner of your scarf, threadbare as it is, but he's already gone by the time. You work up the courage, just walked off or faded. Hard to say. Back in this certain day, people called winter the poor man's plague. It didn't come with boils or blood, but it left the same trail of bodies. Lower-class workers were often forced to labor through frostbite, hypothermia, and pneumonia with no treatment, no rest, no help. They were expected to keep moving even as their extremities turned black and useless. There are records of entire families losing fingers, toes, even feet across just a few months. You reach the corner where the apothecary sits, its windows fogged from within. You stand there a while, staring in. It looks warm. You can see bottles lined up on the shelves, glowing amber in the light. Inside, the chemist moves slowly in his white coat. You wonder what that coat must feel like, heavy, soft, clean. You think about going in just to warm your hands near the counter. Maybe ask for the ointment. You know he won't give you anything unless you can pay. But maybe he'll take pity. Maybe he'll see your fingers and see a human instead of a burden. Thanks for watching.